First of all, welcome back. It's great to be here. Um, I work for the English School District here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And as part of the English School District, the division that I work in is the Center for Distance Learning and Innovation. And that is the that we and like I said earlier, we provide online school to students in rural and isolated communities throughout the province. Um, those students, it's high school, and I teach music, except for one course. I teach like a social studies course, Newfoundland and Labrador Studies, um, and it's good. I mean, I've been teaching basically that setup for a long time, 18 years now, and I love teaching online. It has its challenges. There's no doubt about it, but I do love working online with the kids. It's a different context. It's a different way of teaching. Do I prefer it to teaching in class? It's hard to say. Um, People ask me that a lot. Do I prefer teaching online? I'm going to say yes, but the bottom line is I just love teaching, and uh, I can't say that I really enjoy one particular venue over another. I like the art of teaching. So the online teach has its challenges, but it's also something that's very super rewarding. So and there's things that we can do online that we can't do in person. Okay, so in a face-to-face version, setting. I mean, so the notes that just had up there, like, feel free to contact me, email, Facebook, whatever you like. I'm happy to talk to you. What I've been doing is I've been giving these sessions throughout North America to teachers, and because I've been doing this for 18 years, and like I don't have all the answers. I don't even have most of the answers, but because I've been at this for 18 years, a lot of the real fundamental things we've kind of got figured out. So I've been helping teachers across the country and down to the States figure out how can we offer online things. So it's been really exciting. And I'm inviting teachers to contact me after, like, if you, in 3 months' time, if you say, boy, I can't seem to figure out how to do this thing, don't spin your wheels. Just send me an email. We'll get online, probably. That's usually what we do. We'll get on a Google Meet session. You'll say, hey, how's it going? I can't remember how to do this thing. And I go, oh, yes, here you go. Click, click. And you say, perfect. 2 minutes versus you spin your wheels for 2 hours. Don't spin your wheels. So feel free to contact me at your convenience. Last time, in the last session, for those of you that are with us, that was a good time. Don't tell the people who missed it that it was like the Oprah show where you all got a car. Don't tell them that, because then they'll want to, like, go back to it. You missed the opportunity. I'm sorry. For those people who are there, enjoy your car. Okay, so one thing I did forget to say in the last session was about lighting. We need to try to create the best sound and the best video that we can, so students are going to be engaged with us and connect with us in this live setting. The last thing we want is bad video and bad audio. Now, one of the keys to good video is a camera. Good camera, yeah, sure. But lighting is way more important than a good camera. Now, right now in here, I have, this is what my room looks like now. Okay, so you can see, I'm gonna have a look at my own video. By the way, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, you know what? I forgot. Hey, Siri, set my timer for 5 minutes. And for those of you from the Oprah show,
your timer is set for 5 minutes.
Those of you who come from the Oprah show, you'll know exactly why I'm doing that. So, okay, so here's my video. Now, right now, I don't see you guys. I'm seeing only myself. Now, here. I am. I'm looking at my preview of myself there. I'm looking, because I don't see you anymore. I've got you guys in the background now. I can see my own camera. Boy, look at that. So the problem with having your preview on camera on the screen all the time is that you tend to want to look at it a lot. It's human nature. You want to look at your own. Oh, look at that. Close shave today. Yeah. Yeah. So you don't want to be at that. Take your own preview off the screen because you'll only be looking at yourself all the time. And it's distracting for the students. You'd be surprised. It's so distracting. And you'll notice I'm looking right here all the time. I'm looking at the camera because that's where your eyes are. So if I'm looking at you like this, then you're going to be more engaged with me than if I'm looking at you like this. Got it? I mean, makes sense, doesn't it? Now, I turned off my lights. Okay, so I have this light on and I have this light on. Okay, so now I have a different video. So see, look at the difference. This is me with my video on. This is me with my camera, my lights off. This is me with my lights off. I have a lamp over here, like a like a bedside table type lamp, over here. And that lights me. I had it on a switch, on extension cord. There you go. See? Look what that does. It lights me right up. I'm lit, as we'd say here in Newfoundland. Well lit. Anyway, and then I have another light over here. This is a little small light. This is like a little LED light. I got this here on my desk, and that just lights on this side. So now look at that. So students can see me nice and clear. If your video is really dark, if your face is really dark, the students are not going to be engaging with it. You need to be the most lit thing on the screen. It sounds so odd. So anyway, but you want to be the most lit thing on the screen. Now, I have to show you this as well. I'm going to put you back in the background again. I had a friend of mine the other day. I was doing a session for Newfoundland and Labrador music teachers when we first broke for COVID. I did a bunch of sessions with all my friends all around the province, and I got this guy who's a bass. He's a really low bass, right? And when he came in all the sessions with me, he'd be sitting at his kitchen table, and there was a patio door right behind him, and the patio door was always on, like it was always on. I mean, it was a patio, so it was like looking out at the sun. So this was behind him all the time. So this is what it looks like when you have a window behind you. When there's a window behind you, this is what your face looks like, right? Because the computer compensates and says something is so bright. So the guy looked like he was in witness protection. He had a really low voice all the time, and he was all completely blacked out. I mean, look, see what that does to the video? It's horrible. So make sure that you don't have any windows behind you. You should never have any bright lights or windows behind you so that the camera can see it, because it just throws it all off and makes your image really dark. Okay, so make sure there's none of that. So maybe a bedside table lamp on this side and maybe another one on this side. And it'll light your face really nice, and students will be able to engage with you a lot better than if it was really gross. Okay, so way more important than a camera. Way more important than a brand spanking new fancy camera. It's better to have good lighting. Okay, forgot to mention that last time. I had it written in here. I wrote it in. Okay, so now for those people who just joined us, once again, welcome. And I'm going to say it again. I'm going to harp on this, but make sure that at the end of all this, make sure that you connect with me. If you have a question about anything, send me an email. I'm happy to help you out in any way I can. And I just want to very briefly go back over this point here. This quote here, very important. It's a rally for us to reinvent what it is that we do. Don't be stuck in what we've always done. There are lots of ways to do things that will help us, not only help us through this COVID, but maybe at the other end of it, you'll come out with a better program than you had at the beginning. Incorporating a lot of these online techniques and stuff are things that can really help us to develop a better program. And once again, I don't mean to belabor it, but don't focus on the hardest things. Hardest things, if you want to perform Mahler online, boy, that's going to be tough. But there are a lot of things you can do that are down here, a lot of outcomes. Most of our outcomes are down here. My alarm is going off. So, did you guys have a nutrition break? What'd you have for your nutrition break? What'd you have? Right up in the chat window. What'd you have? Granola bar? Coffee? Glass of water? Tea? What'd you have? Hey Siri, set my timer for 5 minutes. I'll talk to you about it again in a minute.
Okay, 5 minutes and...
So now, most of our outcomes that are found in our provincial curriculum are down here. They're down here. The stuff up here, this is tough. And on an online setting, it may be almost impossible in some cases. So don't get hung up on the things that are really difficult to do. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, we talked about last time. I just wanted to bring it up again because it is very, very important. Okay, so and in our session, let me see here we got. So oh yeah, so Ardith had the piece of cheese. That's good, Ardith. Nice. I like cheese. Danielle had lots of water. Well, that's good. Stay hydrated. Stephanie, popcorn. Loving the popcorn. Your camera's off because you're eating popcorn. Didn't even ask me if I had a mouth. I love popcorn, you know. Okay, maple cookies for Steve, good stuff. And Gail, water with ice cubes, not necessary here in Newfoundland. And banana bread from Adele, good stuff. Now, I'm going to say this here now, and we talked about this the last time. I'm going to say it again. When you're in an online setting, the things that you do with your students have to be very, very deliberate. You don't just go into a class and wing it. You can't do that. You need to take advantage of every opportunity you have. Set a timer so that with the timer, when it goes off, you poll the students and you say, ask them something about the curriculum. I mean, I'm asking you what you have for your lunch, but ask them something about what you're working on. Like you say, Sally, what are you working on your fiddle right now? Tell me about what you. Oh, I'm doing it. Johnny, what are you working on? Everybody in class, tell me what you're working on your instrument. Right? That's the kind of thing. Or something about what you're discussing. You can ask a specific question. Get everybody to respond. Number one, it's going to engage the students with what you're doing. Going to pull them out of like some funk that they may be into. And number two, accountability. Because one of those students might be gone. I lie to my students. I do. I'm sorry to say. I tell them a lie. Every year, I tell them a lie. I'm going to tell you what the lie is. The lie is this. I say to them, a reason why I ask these questions all the time is because a few years back, I was teaching a class and little Johnny stopped answering the questions. And we weren't using video because these, again, our bandwidth wouldn't support video. So little Johnny didn't answer the questions. So I said, Johnny, what's wrong? How come you're not answering questions? No response. Johnny, come on. I'm going to have to call your school. No answer. Call Johnny's school. Secretary, Johnny's not in school. Johnny's not in class. He was here a few minutes ago, but now he's gone on the missing list. Oh, Mr. Mercer, Johnny had an anaphylactic shock because he's allergic to peanuts. So he had to go to the clinic. So he passed out in the CDLI room floor. I tell my students that, which is it's a lie. But the fact is that the students could, if little Johnny doesn't answer my questions, he could be in trouble. He could be missing. He could have wandered off. Who knows? But if I'm going through a whole class and I don't even ask for any feedback through the whole class, they have every right to leave. Well, they don't have every right, but they have the ability. So really, poll the questions to the students all the time. Okay, so you'll always be doing it throughout the whole class. And I'm going to talk to you about recording sessions in a little bit. And that recording sessions, that will come back to this too. Okay, because when recording sessions, the text that the students respond with also goes on to the time-stamped recording. Talk to you about that in a minute. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. And I'm sorry for going 100 miles an hour. Okay. Now, at the beginning of the last session, we talked a little bit about synchronous and asynchronous. Now, in this section, I'm going to talk, and we talked a lot about nuts and bolts about how to actually get a good environment with which we can teach our classes. Today, in this session, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about things that that you can use, like techniques that you can use to actually engage and evaluate your students. So the first thing is synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is live, like us here now. This is synchronous. Asynchronous would be something that the students can do at their own pace. You can put that in Google Classroom. It could be YouTube video. It could be time for them to practice. Asynchronous. Okay? So balancing asynchronous and synchronous is very, very important. Now, when I say synchronous, when I say asynchronous, it could be assignments. It could be worksheets. It could be different things that the students are going to be use, part of evaluation, part of the constant development throughout the course. It could be a massive amount of things. So, but that's synchronous and asynchronous. We need to make sure we have a good, solid collection of asynchronous work for students. Now, I'm going to talk to you about that for a second. Pause this thought. September is coming. And I don't know about you guys in Nova Scotia, but is it wrong for me to say, no, I shouldn't say too much because I'm not supposed to speak poorly about Newfoundland and Labrador. We have to figure out what we're doing, and it's not entirely figured out yet. So I'm sure we will. The Department of Education, our government, our elected officials need to figure out a lot of things. They haven't got them figured out yet. I'm excited to see. But in those first few couple of weeks, if you're doing if you're online teaching, give yourself some time to acclimatize. Give your students some time to acclimatize to these new tools, this new environment. Quite a few years, I've been at this for 18 years, and up until about 5 years ago, we were not allowed to teach any curriculum until October 1st. And the reason why was because all of our students are coming into the online setting, and most of them are very new to that. So it was very difficult for them to acclimatize. Well, I shouldn't say difficult. It took a little time. So we gave them the month of September to find their feet. And you know what? In this coming September, you're going to need that time too. So I would say to you, don't kill yourself over the idea of, I got to start doing curriculum on the first day or the first week. I mean, really, if I was to advise you on this, I'd say give yourself 2 weeks of showing students how this works. If you're going to be doing anything online, do some online scavenger hunts. Let them practice logging in. Let them practice uploading a file to Google Classroom. Let them practice finding where their grades are. Let them practice all these things. It'll give you practice. It'll give them practice. After a couple of weeks of this acclimatizing, they'll be all ready to start the curriculum. You'll have a lot less friction. So my advice to you is take it easy on yourself in those first couple of weeks. Okay. Now you may get different instruction from other people. I don't know, but from experience, the students need that time. Well, I still give them a couple of weeks. I mean, I don't wait until the beginning of October anymore, but I definitely give them a couple of weeks at the beginning of September to get used to the platform. Don't be afraid. Okay. The next thing, when you're in an online setting, I want to say, take some time to develop rapport with your students. If it turns out that you are in an online setting, okay, if it turns out that your students are online, whether partial or entire, use some time online to develop rapport with the students. And again, be deliberate. I take my phone, okay, and I read an article a few years back. It said that in order for a teacher to develop a rapport, this was a study, so it's very quantified, so please forgive me. It said for a teacher to develop a rapport with student, they need to have at least 8 minutes of one-on-one time with that student to begin the process of developing legitimate rapport with the student. 8 minutes. So I set my phone and I go, hey Siri, and I tell Siri to set the timer for 8 minutes. And then I call the student in their school on the phone, because my students are all over this place. They're in schools all around the province. And I say, can I speak to little Johnny? So the teacher, maybe it's lunchtime or whatever, or maybe during my own class, Johnny comes to the phone. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? What's new? How you doing? And my timer goes off after 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, I know I've got the minimum done that I need to do. That sounds very deliberate, doesn't it? But we're in an online setting. And we hear whenever people talk about September, the three scenarios, this one is no good because of that reason, that's no good because of that reason, and that's no good because of that reason. One of the online reasons is you can't develop rapport with the students. If you don't try, you can't. You need to be deliberate. It's not as easy to develop rapport with a student online as it is in a face-to-face setting. So I have a binder, and in my binder is a thing on every student. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to close my binder. I'm closing my binder and I'm putting it away. Forget that. I use Google Docs now. This past year was the first year I didn't use my binder. Every other year, I'd have a binder and I'd have a sheet in it, a blank sheet like this. Every time I talk to my students about anything, about their cat, about their dog, about whatever, I jot it down. Johnny's cat's sick. Johnny's mom just had a baby. Johnny's going to summer camp. And then when I'm talking to Johnny, I open up my binder and I say, "Hey, Johnny, how's your cat? And that baby, is it keeping you awake in the night?" Johnny goes, "Oh, Andrew remembered I had a sick cat. That means so much to me." But see, I'm stunned as a block of wood. I wouldn't remember that if I didn't write it down. So you be very, very deliberate. Now, I say binder. I don't use the binder anymore. I do it in Google Docs now. So I have a folder, and I have every student has a doc in my folder in Google Docs, and I just open Johnny's file in Google Docs. And you know what? It sounds very deliberate, but that's what we got to do in an online setting. Some of these situations, you may have students of your own that you may already know. You may not need to do this. But you know what? It's good to know in the back of your mind that you got to be deliberate about these things. Because even if you do know the students from the previous year, it's nice to do this anyway. Okay. Yep, there you go. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about cameras, because I think it was Stephanie earlier asked me, or somebody asked me about, do I leave cameras on, turn cameras off and stuff. Now, we have to try to develop rapport with our students. I think, and you'll hear me say that a lot, because if the students like you and you connect with them on some level personally, then they're more likely to do the things you ask them to do. So, you can disarm a lot of volatile situations by having a nice relationship with the kiddies. So I try my best to do that. When I'm teaching classes, my camera is always on, always, because they will connect with me. And we know there's a certain number of students out there that are visual learners, and they want to connect with me visually as I'm teaching with them. So I have my camera on all the time. In cases where we can use camera on the students' ends, I ask the students to turn the camera on. I tell them, "I'd like for you to turn the camera on, student, but trust me, no pressure. If you're not comfortable having the camera on, don't turn it on. No worries. If you want to have it on for a little bit and turn it off, no worries. You don't have to." And then some students say, "I don't like to have my face on the camera. I don't like to have that." So what I tell them, I say, "Okay, well, no problem." They say, like, "I don't mind having the camera on, but I don't want my face in." So I tell them, "Okay, do this." And okay, so let me just see your hands. And they do that. They put the camera down close, and they'll have it right here on their hands. So, like, so they're still on the camera. Oops, sorry. They're still on the camera, but they're not. You know what I mean? So things like that. Like, there's other way. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. So yeah, I had a student a few years back who this is a little aside. She didn't like camera at all, but she was a piano player. She didn't mind having her hands, but she didn't want to have her face on the camera. That's cool. So she started recording. She liked to do Nirvana. She loved Nirvana. So she started recording videos of her hands playing Nirvana covers. Started putting them on YouTube. This is in like 2010, maybe. So she started recording these Nirvana covers and putting it on YouTube. Just her hands. She got an email from this guy out in Seattle, and he said, "My name is so and so. I am a representative of the Kurt Cobain family, who was long dead at that point." He said, "Leland Cobain is Kurt's grandfather, and I want to let you know that he loves your videos. He never liked Kurt Cobain's music because he's 80 odd years old, and he found it loud, but he loves listening to Kurt's songs, you playing them. So I want to let you know. And here's some photos of him watching you play. And here's this old fella. He's sitting at the laptop is there, and he's like looking at the camera. Leland Cobain, Kurt Cobain's grandfather. And here's Ashley, her hands on YouTube, and he's listening to her play. And they became friends. She was like, I think at this point she's like 18, 19. They became like pen pals. He was like 89. And he'd say, "What song would you like me to?" And he'd send her a request, and she'd record it and put it up, and it was great stuff. So sometimes having just the hands on the video is powerful too. Okay, just a thought. Okay, so now let's move on. I encourage the students to put cameras on. I don't force them. I don't make them feel. I don't pressure them at all. I'm pressuring you guys because we're just in this setting. But the fact is that I don't pressure the students at all. A lot of students are very embarrassed about they're very nervous. They're very uncomfortable with what's in their space. You're looking at behind me. Okay. Like, and I'm going to talk about this a bit in a second with respect to you guys. But behind me, who knows what's here? Maybe there's something here that the kids don't want you to see. So the idea of putting a camera on, if you're in a home setting, that's not appropriate. So I tell the students, if you want to put the camera on, I would encourage you to have a back to like a wall behind you, or put a blanket up or something, or a sheet, things like this. Or if you're really not comfortable, don't turn it on at all. No big deal. Okay. So anyway, something to think about. Some tools like Zoom allows you to delete the background, because I use Zoom for a lot of other things. And I understand that Google Meet, this is coming. So in that case, the student who might have a space behind them they don't want people to see, that could be deleted with the software. And again, Zoom does that now. Anyway, but that's kind of a bit too in depth for what we're talking about right now. Okay. The other thing, of course, is bandwidth. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Bandwidth meaning like how fast your internet is. Video does chew up some bandwidth. It does. But when you're plugged in, remember we talked about wired and wireless? Well, when you're actually plugged into your network, video doesn't affect your call. Okay, like it doesn't, because the download stream and the upload stream, remember we saw that in speed tests, download and upload, they're separate entities. So if you're downloading a whole pile, like I don't know, the upload that's not affected by that. Vice versa. If you're uploading video, your download speed's not affected. So that shouldn't play a part, having video running while they're using Google Meet. If they're wireless, it does. Okay, so just a little thought. Something you might want to you have that knowledge in the back of your head if it ever comes up. Okay. And then of course there's privacy with camera on, don't, be careful with that stuff. Okay. Now, okay, so let's move on. And we got any questions? Any questions at this point? Again, my alarm would have went off, and I would have asked you a question about the curriculum we're working on, and every one of you would have, at this point, since the last time the alarm went off, I probably would have done 10 polls, because I set the timer for 5 minutes here. I'm usually like 1 minute in my classes, so the students are constantly responding, never stops. Okay, but I'm not gonna drive you nuts in here with that, but you should. I should be driving you nuts. Okay, so next thing, recordings. Roy was saying at the beginning he was recording this session, okay? And you can see probably up in the top left-hand corner, you can see it's recording. Let me just show you quickly how you do that, and then I can't do it, so because I don't have the capability here, but I'm going to show you how to do it, and then you'll know. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you now. Earlier, when we were doing our settings for our camera, we click our 3 little timbits down the bottom corner, in the bottom right-hand corner. Well, in here, right at the top, it would say record or not. So that's where you choose if you want to record, is right here. So if you click that, it will start recording. Now, what's recorded? What's recorded is everything on the screen. So anything that is said, anything that you hear, anything that's video is recorded. Okay. Also, the text chat is recorded. So everything that's typed into the text chat is recorded. It's shown up as timestamp. Okay. So it'll say at 10:22 and 3 seconds, Johnny typed in this. Now, the thing is, in an online setting, there's you'll hear me talk about accountability. I want the students to be able to be accountable for what they do and say in their classes, and the teachers as well. So if you record a session and Johnny starts using bad words in the chat window, which happens, you guys know that, then you got record of it. And it's going to, when the chat window, it's going to show up. So you got record of that for your, whatever the filing system you guys use. We use 360. But if an incident report has to be made, then you actually have a document for that. So I encourage you to record. I record every single class. Every single class I record it. Now, when I record it, some classes I record for my own recording, and some classes I record it for the students to use for their review, get ready for tests, things like that. So let me show you here now. I think you guys should be still able to see this. Let me go to, how do I do this? Google? No, hang on a second now. Get out of that. No, I can't do it in here. Yes, I can. Hang on a second. This is supposed to be easier, but maybe I'm making it a little harder. Google Maps. I don't want Google Maps. All right, let's go here, and I go to Google Drive. No, I can't do it in here. Okay, so hang on 1 second. I'm going to stop my presentation. Here we go. All right. So now let me try something a little different. And now I got to log in. I need to show you this. So the question now comes up as to when you do a recording, where do the recordings go? Because I told you that it records the text and it records the video and audio, but where do the recordings go? Okay, so now let me show you. I got too many windows open here. Here we go. All right, here we go. I present this window, and there we go. All right. So now, can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen there now? Okay, great, thank you. Now, again, another little tidbit for you. If you're doing online stuff like this, teach your students some American Sign Language. Just some basic stuff. Yes, no, happy, sad, confused, not confused. And then when you're in these video things, if you can ask students questions, and then they can use sign language in the video without having to turn their microphone on or text you. They can quickly give you a response on the video, and they love it. Okay, so when you record a video, I'm going to scroll down. It goes into this file folder right here, Meet Recordings. You see that right there? Meet Recordings. That's the folder that it goes into. So if I double click on that, it will show up any recordings that I've made under the account that you see here. It'll show up the recordings. And you'll see, like, I did a couple here, like virtual cafe, like virtual coffee house things. So when we did these, like, it was the text was right there. It comes as a text document, and this would be the video of the actual Meet session. So I usually go in after the fact and I rename them. When they're not renamed, this is the name they get. That's pretty gross. So I go in after each class and just rename them real quick. Okay, so that's where it is. That's it there. Now, just as a little aside, I'm going to talk to you more about this in a second, but let's say that you have a class that you want to share with the students, and you want the students to have the class. Let's say it's a review class, or let's say it's a performance class or something like that, and you want to be able to share it with your students so that they can see it. How do you do that? Let me just show you really quickly, because I got it open here now, and I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but let me just show you. So these files, these video recording files are here. All I need to do if I want to share it with my students is I can go in here, left click on it, or sorry, right click, and I can go to share. And then if I click that, it'll show me who I can share it with. So I can add my class, like on grade 6 or whatever the class is, I can add it right here. And then all the students will have access to it. They can watch it. Only the students. So if there's a student's face in the video, the only person that has access to it is the students that are in your class. And I'm assuming that you'll be using the email, the sanctioned email from your district, which is the only one we use. So we have nlesd.ca. Every student gets their nlesd.ca email. So when I share a class with those students, only the students with that email can access the video. So it can't get out in public, So there's a certain amount of privacy there for that. So that's how you share it. Now, if you wanted to, what you can also do is you can copy the link right there. You can see that down the bottom, copy link, and you can go and you can put it into Google Classroom. There's a dozen things you can do to share it with the students and, to use it in your classes. So anyway, that's the basics, how you record and where you put it. Okay. Now, your school may have policies on recording classes or not. I'm not sure, but and every district does. I would encourage you to record everything and then share what you need to and what you're allowed to, but at least you got everything recorded, And the other thing too is, and I got it down here in my thing, for recording, it's good self-evaluation. because where you're online, this is new. So you want to look back and you want to say, like, was I looking at the camera here? Was I looking at that? Like, let's watch the video and see if I was. Or how's my video look? Does my space look cluttered? Does it look like it's a good learning environment? It's good to do that. Good self evaluation. Okay, so that's that. Yes, and another thing too about attendance. In the last session, the one where we gave everybody a car, that session we talked about attendance. There's actually an extension for Google Meet called Attendance that you can get, and I'll just show you where to get it. I'll give you the Google. Where is it gone? Maybe I don't have it here. Oh, wrong page. Sorry, I do have it here. Here we go. So the Google Web Store has, and I'll give you the link in the chat window right now. The Google Web Store, it has that in there you can get all your extensions. But one of the extensions you can actually get is an attendance one. It will take attendance for you. So you can go like say 10 minutes into the class, you can click the button and it will say who's here right now, and it'll take attendance right then and there. I tend not to use that one because with online students are coming and going. There's always technical issues and stuff. So if I take attendance at the 10-minute point, 20 minutes in, the student may have gotten bumped out or something. So what I do is with the if there's a question about attendance, I can go back to my recordings, and the students' text chat throughout the class indicates if they were there or not. Okay, so just a little thought. But anyway, there's no need to get into that too much because you can use the attendance function if you want to. I don't like to take attendance during class if I can help it because it wastes so much of our time, and it's in online setting time is so precious. I like to do it after the fact. Okay, now what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to pass out a card, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you how to create a breakout room. And then I'm going to tell you after that, I'm going to tell you why it is that we actually use this. Okay? I'm going to describe to you some of the classes that I do and how those classes actually run, like what's actually happening in a class. Like what does it look like? What's an online class for us? Okay? So, first of all, breakout rooms. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Now, a breakout room is a place where me and Adele can go out and do something one-on-one. Or Jim, Adele, and Stephanie can go and work on a project together outside of the full class that we're in here now, this full class. They can go and work on something a little separate. That's a breakout room. Now, I'm going to admit something to you. I don't use Google Classroom for our classes. We don't use that. We use a piece of software called Brightspace. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So we use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and Blackboard Collaborate Ultra it's designed as a virtual classroom. Google Meet's okay. It's great for Nan's birthday party, when you're all around and you want to see somebody, it's great for that. But it isn't a learning environment, really. It's not designed for that. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra lets us do all kinds of things. It has a built-in whiteboard. I can send files. I can send a file to Adele. I can send a different file to Danielle. I can share things easily. I can record stuff. It's a virtual classroom. So Google Meet, what we're on here now, in order to do some of the things that the proper classrooms do, we have to do some workarounds. Okay. So I'm going to show you this, but I'm not going to show you entirely because I'll end up crashing here. Because when I'm presenting like this, I have sometimes stuff goes wrong, and I don't want to show you too much because I'm afraid I'm going to blow things up here. So you guys see where this. Let's pretend that this is our class, and this is us here having a good time in the full class. But I want me and Danielle to work on something. So what I'll do is I'll go up to my handy dandy thing, meet.google.com. You see I'm typing in meet.google.com. It's a new meeting. I'll start a new instant meeting, and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna join a meeting. And oopsie daisy, And this, I'm going to crash this now. Add people. Now I'm going to put in Danielle. Put in Danielle here then, right? And now normally, I mean, Danielle Irvine and Danielle Doyle are not part of the class, but I will put in Danielle's email. And Danielle will be the only person invited to this new Google Meet session. She'll go to her email and she will see an invitation there on the spot to join that class. When she clicks it, she'll be in 2 Google Meet sessions. She'll be in the one in here with me now with the rest of the class, and she'll be with one with just me. So we'll mute our microphones in here and we'll go talk in the other class. In that class, we can do our thing. We can chat back and forth one-on-one. I can hit record, so I can record the session. So if it's a lesson or something, then we can have a lesson, and I record it so she can watch your lesson later and catch up on stuff, because Danielle needs less help with her oboe. And Danielle, oboe player, Danielle. Anyway, I like that look. Yeah, I'm not an oboe player. No, neither am I. Anyway, we can have a one-on-one session in that. But now let's say if we wanted to have a group where Adele, Jim, and Danielle are going to work on something together, I'd start the session again, the same thing, but instead of only inviting Danielle, I'll invite Jim, Adele, and Danielle. They'll all 3 of them will get it, and I'll say, okay, guys, go check your email. There should be an invite there for you. Off they go. Right? And then you're in the breakout room, you're working, and then I can pop in because I'm also in the meeting as well. So I'll pop in and say, how are things going, guys? Oh, going great. Okay, let me know if you need a hand. Now go back to the main class and I talk to the rest of the group here in the main class. Maybe I'll make another subgroup, another one. I'll put Ardith, Steve, and I'll put Stephanie. And then I have 2 breakout rooms. So then I pop out to their room and I say, how are things going? Oh, Adele's not doing anything. She's useless. Adele hasn't done a thing since we came here. I'm sick of supporting her. And you know how it goes. The breakout rooms let us do a whole bunch of cool things. So there you go. And you can record each one. So then after the fact, if the students want to go back and the recording is there, they can go back and listen to it, check it out. Also, if somebody says, sir, so-and-so was bad in our breakout room, well, I got a recording of that. It doesn't have to be made public, but it's a recording for me, So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Okay. So that's that. Now, that's breakout rooms. Now I want to talk to you about how my classes look when I'm teaching in my classes with Newfoundland and Labrador. So, in a typical class, I teach a social studies course, which is very content driven, but I teach general music course and I teach several slots of applied music, which I teach guitar and I teach fiddle. Okay. Now, a lot of the times when the students are working on stuff with me, they need to have private lessons. So let's take my guitar class, for example. Every student in my guitar class needs one-on-one time with me. So in a typical class for me, I will start at, let's say 1 o'clock, and we'll have 15 minutes with everybody here in the class. And hello, everybody, 15 minutes. We're going to do some things and we do some topics together as a class. And I have pre-scheduled 3 sessions. I have 15 minutes with Johnny at 1:15. I have 15 minutes with Sally at 1:30, and I have 15 minutes with Sam at 1:45. So we get together with everybody for a class. We do some things, maybe about 1:10. I say to everybody, now I'm going to go out now and have private lessons with these 3 people. What are you guys, everybody here, what are you going to work on while I'm working with these people? And then every single person has to type into the chat window what they're working on. So someone will say practice, someone will say I'm working on my theory assignment, somebody will say I'm working on this, working on that, and then they go all the way down through it. So then I say, okay, fine. I say, Johnny, I didn't hear from you. What are you working on? Oh, I'm working on this, sir. So then I take Sally and I go out into the room with Sally. And me and Sally, breakout room, we have a private lesson. What do you want to work on today, Sally? Well, sir, I've been working on Somewhere Over the Rainbow and it's not going so well. Okay, well, let's hear it. And then Sally plays it, video and audio, full video, full audio, one-on-one. I record it. She plays, I play for her. back and forth. We have a lesson. Sometimes when they come out, Sally might say, well, I'd like to be evaluated today. I've been working on Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I think I'm ready for you to hear it as playing test number 3. And I say, good stuff, playing test number 3. So then I take out her sheet, because remember, I have a sheet on every single student, a Google Doc. Used to be the binder. Remember, I used to use the binder, but now I use Google Docs. So Sally has a Google Doc. And so I open it up and I keep track of everything she plays for me and how she's doing and all these things. I keep track of all of that in her Google Doc. So when she comes in, I can refer to anything, you know? So she starts playing and then I hear it, I evaluate her and then maybe give her some ideas and things she can work on. And then we go on. And then I go back to the full class. Hey, everybody, come on back. Everybody come on back to me now. So now, what are you guys working on? How's it going? And then everybody types in what they're working on. How's it going? Okay, Johnny, me and you go out in the breakout room. So me and Johnny go out in the breakout room and we repeat the same process we did with Sally. And then all the while, the students are back in the main room, which is also being recorded, by the way. They're back in the main room and they're working away on stuff. Okay, so you can see the dynamic of that is that it's very self-driven. It's a lot of self-driven stuff. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that. The work that I do with my students is very individualized. Let me back up a little bit. We have government. The curriculum outcomes that we have to follow is exactly the same as every other school in the province. So we have the same curriculum. So what I do with my students is that, and this is private, this is a private thing. I give the students a blank document that has the outcomes in point form. And I ask them to go through and tell me, how are you going to meet that outcome? And how do you think you could meet that outcome? This is very, very directed. I mean, it's not broad, like wide open. It's very directed, you know. So like you're gonna learn to let's say strumming. You need to learn how to strum the guitar. Okay. So, okay, Sally, how do you think you'd like to do that? And Sally would then say, I'm going to learn to play some songs by Taylor Swift from her new album. Cool. So that's how she can do it. So, and that changes throughout the whole year. That document is continuously changing. And every single student has their own version with their own directions on how they're accomplishing the outcomes. So then I go with Sally. I say, Sally, I want to look back at your outcomes. On the one about strumming, you said you're going to do Taylor Swift. We haven't done it yet. And she said, I'm just starting it now. Or, no, sir, I don't think I want to do Taylor Swift now. Do you have any ideas I could do? Well, how about if you do this or do that? You update your outcomes. So she goes back in and she puts in some ideas that maybe we talked about. So they're individually designing how they're achieving the outcomes throughout the year. Everybody's different, but I keep track of everybody. But I do have that one-on-one time very regularly. I'll usually have about 22 in a class, 23, 24 in a class, something like that. So I get to see them fairly regularly. I might see 3 per class. And I see them 4 times in a 14-day cycle. No, more than that. 5 times in a 14-day cycle. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, I see them quite a bit. So, so they get through this. Like I see them quite a bit. So it's very individualized. And then when we have assignments that are class-wide, like they'll have assignment that'll be a class-wide assignment. The due dates on these are always a moving target. I shouldn't say always moving target. They're very fluid. What I do is I tell the students that it's due at this point. It's due around here. You should be getting this tied up. This is a deadline right here, a bit later on. If you don't have it done by then, you can still pass it in, but you'll lose marks based on our provincial policy on evaluation. So every day after this point, you're losing marks. I'd like to have it done here, but if you hit that wall here, the clock's on and you're losing marks. And then after that point, every day they're losing marks. They can still pass it in, but it's based on our provincial guidelines for evaluation. So they will lose marks for passing in late. The other thing is, when it comes to playing tests, if I said, okay, I was talking about guitar. Let's talk a little bit about my general music class. In my general music class, they play tin whistle. Everybody plays tin whistle in my class. So what we do is we set a date. If a student says, I'll say, now in this week, I want you to play me Hot Cross Buns. Okay, the first song they do. hot cross buns. You need to have it done in this week. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let you choose to do it, whatever day you want. But remember, if you leave it until Friday, we may not hear you because you're all packing up until Friday. So try to get it done as soon as you can. After Friday, you lose marks for every day it's not done. So you have a week to get it done. If you get to the end of the week and you haven't got it done, you're going to start losing marks next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay? And you can still do it, and you can lose a maximum of 15. And then it gets to a point where I'll say, and after this point, I'm no longer hearing it. Okay, so the students, like, they have several fluid deadlines that they can work within. And it gets more severe as you go along, down to the point where if it's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks late, or whatever I decide, at that deadline, it's no longer acceptable. I will no longer hear it. So you see, and the other thing too, if a student, I tell the students, if you perform it anywhere in that time, in that scale, in that place, anywhere at all, if you perform it and you don't do well, you can redo that test as often as you want throughout the year. Because see, the thing is, I want them to be able to play hot cross buns. I don't care if they can play it in September or if they can play it in June. I just want them to be able to play it when they leave my class. So if in September they play it and they bomb, at least they tried. And maybe they got a 60. So then a month later, they say, sir, listen, I've been working on hot cross buns. I played it in time. I didn't lose any marks. I played it in time back in the day, but I got a 60. Well, I'd say, well, you can play it as often as you want throughout the whole year to up your mark, as long as you play it in time in the beginning. But if you miss that cutoff date where I no longer hear from you, it's cut off. So anyway, it's kind of convoluted, but it encourages the students to take control of their stuff. They know that there's deadlines and which they have to follow, but they still have an opportunity. I tell them, look, if you don't feel really good about what you're playing, just play it, do your best, and redo it in a month. Redo it in 3 months. I don't care, but do it now and get a mark, because you can always come back. And that's the way it is with guitar as well, and my fiddle as well. When the students are performing, if they're not up to speed, if they don't get the mark they really want, they can always revisit it as often as they want to up their mark all the way through the whole year. Because think about it, if the students in September are playing something that's very basic and they don't do really well on it, and by the end of the year they're playing really well, well, if they're playing really well, and they played this back when they were supposed to, and they took responsibility of doing it at the right time, why shouldn't they be able to revisit that in June and nail it? Because at the end of the year, the idea is they need to be able to achieve the outcomes. I don't care if they can achieve it later, as long as they achieved it. But I do ask that they do it in a timely fashion, and that's why there's deadlines. You see? So it's very individualized, it's very fluid, but at the end of the day, it gives students a lot of opportunity to, do things at their own pace, at their own speed. But there are consequences for just slacking off too. So there you go. So the idea of the breakout room is critical for this, because the students are here with me, and they're with me every single class. Every class is online with me. So the idea of having that breakout space I can run off to with the students, that's really important. Roy, how are we doing for time? We only got a few more minutes, don't we?
We got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Holy cow, time flies when you're having fun. Once again, I'll invite you after this is over. Please add me on Facebook, get my email, jot it down. If you have any questions at all, I have no friends. I like making friends, so call me. Yeah, call me. So another thing that I wanted to be able to talk to you about today, which is I did a 2-hour session on this one topic. Okay, is virtual coffee house. Okay, virtual coffee house. There are times when you're going to want your students to showcase. Okay, so in a Google Meet session like this, let's say you have your grade 6 class and you want them to play for each other. Well, you can have a Google Meet session like this. Only invite the people that have the proper sanctioned emails. That would be the parent or the kids. Right? So maybe just the class. The kids can come in one at a time. They can take over the mic and they can play their song. And that's cool. If they want to, You can have them if they want to take the song, like pre-record something. If they're too nervous to play live, you can pre-record something. And I was going to show you, but if you just take their pre-recordings, if they record something on their phone, you just stick it into one of your Google Drives in the Google Drive folder, and then when you come, you present, you take over and you present a tab and have audio, because on your tab, when you go to present, let me show you this. I don't think I mentioned this earlier. When you're presenting, let me show you this in window, and there we go. Okay, if I go to present, when I click this present button right here, okay, shoot, it's going to stop presenting. That's the reason why I couldn't do it. When you go to present, the option that pops up right here is it says present a tab and play tab audio. What that will do is it will give you crystal clear audio from the student's video. And all you do then is you go into your Google Drive folder where the student's video is. It's private. It's all private. You go in there and you just play it right from there. It shows the video. It shows the audio. You hear the audio. Sounds great. So a student who is too nervous to play live, maybe too nervous to have video on, they can send you a pre-recording and you can play it from your Google Drive by sharing a Chrome tab. That's how it works. You share a Chrome tab and make sure you select audio, because it'll be a little click button there beside it. Okay, so that's how you can do that. A coffee house. If you want to invite parents, I'm not sure if you guys, if this is enabled for you guys, but in Google Classroom, when I go to a list of all my students in Google Classroom, I have an opportunity there to invite to the Google Classroom parents and guardians. So I can click that. It'll show me the email of the parents and guardians, and I can invite them to come into the Google Classroom, and they can monitor the students' work throughout the year. Good stuff. I do it myself. So when you do that, you can invite anybody that's in the Google Classroom to your Google Meet coffee house. So then the parents can watch too. So the parents can watch the kids and stuff. Now, the thing is, at that point, then you're outside of the class. So there may be some security things that the district needs to direct you on. But the fact is that you can have it so that it's not open to the public. It's not Facebook. It's only visible to the parents and or the kiddies, and parents, guardians, and or the kiddies. Okay, so that's how you can do a virtual coffee house. Very cool. The kids love them, especially if you set it up and you say, like, on every second Friday, we're going to have a coffee house, and you do one for grade 6, and you do one for your grade 5s, and you do one for your grade 3s, and you do one for grade 2s. And the coffee house can be a show and tell. It can be like a show and share. It can be whatever you want it to be, but it's really cool. And the parents love it. The kids love it. And it's very, very safe if you do it within the confines of Google Meet, because it's under the umbrella of all those email protection.